Apple told to stop being stingy or cough up in court. And crisis? What crisis? It's boom time for the world's top two exporters, on the face of it at least. But first, tense smiles after EU leaders pull an all-nighter, 17 hours of negotiations. They've now agreed on a broad framework for the bloc's long-term budget after false starts and divisions dragged talks on into the early hours. The deal would fix total EU spending at €960 billion over the next 7 years. Trade data from global export kings Germany and China out today. Let's start with Germany. The trade surplus in 2012 jumped to €188 billion. That is the second largest surplus since records began 60 years ago. The figures for December not quite so rosy, a decent enough increase in the surplus, but export growth was far slower than expected and imports were down. And in China, a 25% surge in exports last month, far higher than expected, leads to a $29.2 billion surplus. Imports also surged, pointing to rising domestic demand as well. Let's get to John Gordon in Hong Kong for more on that. First hard data of the year, economic recovery still on track in China.
It looks like that is the case, Axel. Very bullish print, as you said. They're up 25%, and it looks like as we head into the second quarter here, that we're definitely on track for that recovery.
You know, we've talked a lot about rebalancing this economy in favor of domestic demand. Are we seeing more evidence of that now?
Everybody wants to see that, and definitely this import number was also very bullish, and that's a good sign. But you got to remember that we're right in the middle of the, we're heading into the Chinese New Year holiday, and that has a huge distortion effect on the figures. We've got 5 extra days of work going into this number, and the next number will be diminished by that same amount. So it's hard to say how much we're getting there. We did see a big pickup in U.S. imports as well as imports from the ASEAN bloc there, and that definitely is a positive sign. But going forward, we still need to see a clearer picture to really get an idea of what's going on.
Less need for stimulus going forward?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you there, Axel.
Less need for stimulus going forward in China?
I'm sorry, the connection is I'm just unable to hear you.
All right, John, let me leave it there. John Gordon in Hong Kong. Right, more LIBOR fines expected to come by the middle of the year. Sources telling Reuters that both the US and Britain are set to levy more fines. Broker ICAP and Citi, JP Morgan, Chase and Deutsche are names being thrown around according to the sources. 3 banks have, of course, so far been fined: RBS, UBS and Barclays. Apple's being sued to get it to deploy its $137 billion cash pile more effectively and reverse a 35% drop in share prices since last September. US stakeholder David Einhorn has accused the tech giant of a Depression-era mentality to hoarding, a hangover from its near failure in the 90s. He's calling for an initial $50 billion dividend for investors. Boeing gets the go-ahead to restart test flights of its grounded Dreamliner following earlier approval of a one-time flight from Texas to Washington, but calls for further investigations into how the faulty batteries got approved in the first place may keep deliveries of Boeing's newest aircraft on ice for a while yet. That's it. Before we go, it's cold outside, so perhaps the Grammys broadcasters are worried stars will catch a chill on the red carpet, performers receiving a letter from US channel CBS telling them to cover up at the Music Awards show this weekend, keeping dresses on the right side of demure. I'm Axel Threlfall. This is Reuters.